We're live. Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? Happy Saturday. Happy to see everybody.
I
I'm
mean
hoping.
Sunday.
Sorry.
You forgot what day it was.
I did forget what day it was. Nobody's watching yet, but I'm sure they'll pop in. Anyway, we've got a fun show coming today. I'm so excited. I want to get into our weeks, though. How's your week? Is it awesome?
My week was pretty good, I have to say. I had to do a little reframe. I had high expectations of getting some good solid workouts in. One of my friends created this challenge for the month of April. So I was planning on, doing it.
What's the challenge?
It's through her little app. So she is a fitness professional and she creates workouts for people. And because I will be traveling in the van a lot this summer, I asked her, I wanted to be a part of her program that is for home workouts with dumbbells and body weight stuff. Since I'm not used to doing that, I normally go to the gym.
Yeah.
But I sadly injured my back last weekend and pretty much took this entire week off from doing any kind of weightlifting. Really just try to get my step goal. So my step goal is 10,000 steps a day.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I know Mark gets 30,000 somehow. He's a postie in the UK, so he walks a lot.
I was going to say 30,000. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, he gets a lot of steps. Yeah, my week was good. I had that neck injury. So last week when me and Alicia talked, we both had injuries. I thought that was so funny that I woke up and at 6 o'clock in the morning, I literally was laying in bed laughing. I could not get out of bed. And I was laying there having to strategize. Like every time I would turn and try to just get my feet to where they were going towards the floor, it would be a pain. And then I'd cringe. And Marabella could sense something was going on. She was just reaching like her paw out very slowly, like, is there something? And then so her doing that made me start laughing and that hurt even more. It was some kind of something, who knows what I did. But hey, 2 people watching. Yay, yay. Say hi, everybody. Anyway, yeah, so that was funny. You had your back and I had my neck and my back and my neck.
My neck, my back, my neck and my back.
Isn't it? Hey, there's Rodney. How does that song go? My back, my neck, my
pussy, something like that.
My pussy and my crack. Something along those lines. Anyway, so yeah, that's I'm happy to say that my neck has survived. My neck has improved. It's not 100%. How's your back feeling?
My back still hurts a little, but it's manageable pain. Initially, I was super concerned that I might have pinched another nerve. And I had done that back in 2016 and ended up going through so much rehab trying to get it fixed before ultimately having a partial discectomy for my pinched nerve. So
that just sounds painful.
Yeah, I had a herniated disc. So I was so afraid that might be what happened again, but on the opposite side. And, fingers crossed, that's not what it is. I think it was just inflammation that,
and pushing yourself.
Yeah. Pushing myself a little too much.
I know. I try to remember that. I'm like, when I go out running, I'm like, Harmony, just be easy. Because if not, you're going to be out and you won't be able to do shit for however long you're down.
Yeah.
So everybody that's watching, I made a little list. He says, whoa to what?
It's probably because he turned into you singing that song. And he's like, whoa, that's a start to the show.
Pussy and my crack, I'm sure. Anyway, so we've got some things we're going to discuss today. And the first thing up on the agenda, I wanted to talk about, did you have any highs and lows, first of all, this past week?
I would definitely say my low was, injuring my back. Having to reset. I was ready to reset, challenge myself in a different way, fitness-wise.
And your body said, eh.
Yeah, my body said, that ain't happening this week. So you got to listen to your body when it tells you that. I would say a high of this week would be having the chance to meet somebody else who is living the van life.
I saw that. You guys need to go over and watch Alicia's. Make sure you're following us individual as well as the Folly Girls page on Instagram and those will all be pinned here at the top of this YouTube after we're done. Because yes, I saw that you met another van person. What's the story behind that?
So his name is Chris. He's been traveling around in a van full time since 2019.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then
or 2020 in a van.
Yeah.
Shit.
And so he also told me that he lived in an RV before when he was in the military. So he's a veteran, military veteran, and is still working, but doing remote work, doing, a different job.
That's awesome.
He's retired from the military. So it was just so cool because it's so hard on the East Coast, to meet other people that are living this lifestyle that I'm about to start doing.
I know. The countdown is on. Y'all definitely need to go give her a follow, because she's going to be cruising the streets, and you're going to want to see what she's doing, because,
and a different way of cruising the streets.
She's not going to be hooking. She's not going to be hooking. I know we were talking pussy and crack when we first came on, but she's not going to be hooking. Okay, well, that's awesome. So your high was your back, which hopefully is getting better.
The low was the back.
Sorry. Your low was your back, and your high was getting to meet another van person.
Yeah.
I think my low was my neck for sure, because it kept me out of movement for one day. And you know how I am with my woods. I love going out there. It's like my sanity.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a low. And as far as my high goes, like my high actually happened this morning, because I decided, against all fear, there was a group, algorithm, how shit shows up in your feed. And this, I guess it's a 501c. I guess it's a nonprofit called the Narrative Method. And what it does is it hooks people up through weekly connections, like on Zoom. They have several different types of topics where they talk about. This one is it's called the Narrative Method, and it's a writer's room. So it's an hour long, and you meet online. They're based out in Los Angeles, but it was really cool. And I had seen it come up in my feed. And of course, once I read the rules behind it. So what you do is when you sign up, you show up in the Zoom, you have to RSVP. So immediate pressure, right? Am I going to want to do that on Sunday mornings? And then when you show up, they request that you have your camera on. Like, they don't even really want you to be in there if you don't have your camera on, just for everybody else's kind of feeling of security. And so she gives you a photo. You look at the photo for inspiration. You've got 7 minutes to write about that photo, whatever her prompt is that she gives you. And then she gives you another prompt after 7 minutes. You write about that for 7 minutes, whatever that prompt is. And then she breaks you off into different rooms. There were 77 of us in there today. She breaks you off into different rooms, and then you read what you wrote in the room on camera. And I had read the directions a couple weeks ago, and of course, immediately fear. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't know who's going to be there. All the questions that flood your brain when you're going to do something different. But I went, and that's, long story short, that was my high. Like, it was fabulous. I tried to do my best to read what I wrote. It was just one page without crying. Whenever I get sophisticated and we go into the next upcoming future weeks, I'm going to start putting media directly into the video so you guys can see. There'll be like visuals to go along with whatever story we're telling. But the photo was an image of a Mongolian girl. I think her nickname was Meatball. So she was like this 4-year-old, cutest little chubby girl holding a baby goat.
Aww.
And that's what we had to write about. And that was definitely my high, just connecting and talking to 77 people, or 76, including me, from around the globe. And that all just came in to connect and learn how to be better creative writers. And the cool thing about that is what comes from that is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome for so many reasons, not only the actual experience, but for stepping outside of my comfort zone again. And you realize, it's such a process every day to step outside of your comfort zone. And I have tried to make the commitment to do it at least once a day. I don't always succeed, but that was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone. Reading something that I wrote to a group of people on camera. And then too, I know I was making an ugly, weird face because I was trying not to cry. And so my room had 4 people in it. And I had to say, it was like when you trip in public and you look around and say, did you see what I just did?
Yeah.
Like, you have to acknowledge it. So I just said to them, I know it was really hard for me to make it through that without crying. And they were all so kind and loving. And I'm definitely going to go back. I mean, I think they do like 4 to 6 different writing. You meet on Zoom and you come and connect, and they all have a different topic. And it's basically about human connection and learning about yourself through writing.
Wow, I love that. I love that idea.
I think you should be a part of it, because you're writing, that's another thing. Good segue. Alicia's writing a book. I'm in process now of learning how to become a children's book author and see what that ventures off into. So that's my main reason for showing up for this is I dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? When I was in 10th grade, I gave a big FU to school and then immediately freaked out. And I went the GED route and then didn't go back and graduate from college until just a handful of years ago. So I I mean, when I took English for college, like I remember taking it and it was fabulous, but it was not easy. I think because I was so critical on myself as a high school dropout, I guess I just assumed that I wasn't connected and focused on school, that I equated that somewhere in my psyche to being dumb or, whatever. And so going on this venture and learning when you step into a room and you're having to read your words that you had 14 minutes collectively to write, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. That's hard. I mean,
Mhm.
talk about vulnerability, So those are my highs and lows, and that immediately ventures into the next thing is my question that I'm carrying over from the Bliss Brokers. Do you practice vulnerability in your life? And give me an example of that, how Alicia practices vulnerability.
I definitely do. But before I answer that, I just wanted to comment on something you said. I definitely feel like there is this pressure, especially in the last couple of generations in society, that you can't be successful or you can't be proud about your accomplishments if you don't have a piece of paper. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, so you said something, but you have life experiences. Yeah, you dropped out of high school, but you went on and you had all these different experiences. You learned a skill set. Multiple skill sets. You became an entrepreneur. You started a couple businesses. You started over in a whole new city, and those life experiences, I feel like, are way more impactful than just this piece of paper that everybody goes to college and gets at the end of the day. And half of those people can't even get a job with that piece of paper.
I
Or
know.
just
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you said that. And I appreciate that. I have to be reminded of that because it's a storyline that I've been telling myself. Hi, Marta. Marta and Rodney are in the room.
hi,
Um,
Marta. Hi, Rodney.
it's a storyline I've been telling myself. And I think that we all do that. We all tell ourselves stories about our self-identity and then we attach to what society thinks is normal or okay or acceptable or what, for that matter, what they think is bad, and
Mm-hmm.
we get to rewrite, no pun
Yeah.
intended, our own personal story. And I'm happy that because a couple times you've had to correct me on that in our connection here. And I appreciate it so much because I've been telling myself a story my whole life that I'm less than because I didn't graduate high school, and let me tell you, the day that I wore the cap and gown a handful of years ago when I got to walk across the stage in downtown Asheville at a big theater, being able to look off and see my mom, off in the distance. She was so proud of me. All I saw was a bunch of balloons. She bought like
Oh.
5 or 6 helium balloons, and I had that cap and gown. And needless to say, I was smart and I bought waterproof mascara and waterproof eyeliner that day because I cried the entire day off and on because I had never worn a cap and gown. But, in our society, we put emphasis on that stuff. And I think it is important, like you said, to not look at me or anybody individually as not being good enough if we don't have those things. So
Yeah.
thank you for that reminder.
You're welcome. Yeah, I was like, I'm not letting that go. I have to comment on that. You have to be proud of all the things that you've accomplished, and you have accomplished so many things. So I personally am proud of you, and I wasn't going to just let that slip on. So,
Thank you. That's sweet.
yeah, you're welcome.
I'm not trying to cry this early in the episode. I'm like a bag. I'm not pregnant or anything. I promise. I've just like been so emotional today and so connected and really loving the way everything's kind of flowing together. I did a long meditation today and, just really was went into the meditation wanting clarity around what it is I'm doing. And I came out the other side and journaled for about 15 minutes about it and just really feel like I'm collectively all these pieces, the Folly girls and the Bliss Broker and my brothers in Official 5 Deep. And, we ask ourselves a lot of time, that's part of the vulnerability thing is having open communication with ourselves, not just other people, but we ask ourselves as we're doing things like, is this going to matter? Is this going to, in the long run, does anything that I'm doing right now matter? And what I got a solid yes today, whether it's my higher self speaking to me in the quiet of my meditation or not, but I felt like, yes, Harmony, everything you do does matter. It's not about the fanfare, like focus on the intention about why you're doing it. At the end of the day, Alicia, if nobody came in here and watched, we still are putting ourselves in a position where you and I, who love each other very much, are connecting every handful of days and talking about our lives. And how awesome is that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm not doing this. Let me reframe that. I don't like to be negative. I am doing this because not only does it give me a chance to reconnect with you, and, I think every episode we're learning a little bit more about each other, even though we know each other really well. And we've had thousands of experiences, good and bad.
Yeah.
that, we're learning more about each other. We're getting a chance to connect, but also we're getting to connect with some other people and be vulnerable together. And in
Oh,
this,
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, gosh, you don't even need to answer that question because you and I are exemplifying vulnerability just by doing this.
yeah.
So what did Marta say? Marta said, "Same here. I went the GED route and walked for my associates because my mom was so proud to finally see it." I love
Uh,
that. That is so amazing. Yeah, see, we get to make our own. We did the same thing, Marta, and it was, just because we don't go traditional routes as everybody else, like you said, Alicia, doesn't make us any less of a valuable person, and I learned a lot. It was very humbling being in college at that age, especially when I had to go take my math class. And I was like, everybody in there was 18 right out of high school. And here I sit. I was like looking around. People were coming in hungover, smelling like pot. And, they were 18. I mean,
yeah.
it was math. It was like the basic math. It was hilarious.
Well, the cool thing about that story, though, is that even though it was humbling, it was, you probably had some feelings of shame, embarrassment, like awkwardness going on inside your head. And even though you were feeling that way, you still did it anyway. You still showed up, you did the thing, and you were able to then build upon that for the next class and the next class to the point that you graduated. So,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I did. There was a lot of events that I could really laugh at myself. Like one in particular, the parking, it was at Western Carolina University. I had to go and I took one full semester, full load because I needed a math and I didn't get it with my associates. And so here I am at this big, huge college campus and it's massive. So I finally figured out the parking and I had to get from where I was parked all the way across the other side. And I had to take a short bus that just ran the campus. And I got on it and I didn't know where to go. And I rode it for like way longer than I should have.
You were doing circles.
I was because I was too embarrassed. It's like, where there's no rules. I'm like, here, get off here if you're going to this class. They don't care. There's thousands of people going to this school, but it was so funny. I finally just got off, like, just so I wouldn't be going around another loop.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, talk about vulnerability. Okay, so we're gonna get to audience questions, and I know that you have a gentleman that on a personal level. I think you guys were coworkers or something. We can obviously keep his anonymity, but he had a question for us that was a little bit more serious, and I thought maybe if you have your notes there or whatever, you can kind of present that to people.
So, like Harmony mentioned, we had put a post up asking for people to bring up questions, thoughts, anything that you want us to talk about. And we think that this is a great idea. We'd love to continue this every single week. So please, send away anything you want us to talk about. And we will keep this person anonymous because, again, why not? Like, we don't need to share who this comment is from. It could be applicable to a lot of people. But the actual message that I received was, let me read it. I had it right here, but then my phone.
That's okay. I was so excited that he came in and that we got a handful of questions. I was really excited about it.
Yeah. All right, here it is. I thought I screenshotted it. Oh, all right. Give me a second. Bear with me with this.
That's okay. Okay.
Here it is. Okay. So his topic that he wanted to discuss was, why do men and women in uniform still feel like they can't come forward when they begin walking wounded, or the traditional complexities trying to adapt to life after the uniform, having to retire early due to physical and or mental injuries? So I think these are very similar. And, ultimately all I can do as somebody who was a military spouse and then became a military widow, Gold Star wife, which ironically, most people are like, oh, congratulations, you're a Gold Star wife, you get the extra star. And I'm like, that's not really what it means. It means, and I've had people say that to me. I actually took it off of my Instagram profile today because sometimes people are thinking that like I'm getting extra bonus points for being a Gold Star wife, and they don't realize that it's a military death. So I just took it off for now because somebody else said it to me the other day, and I was like, you know what? Until you have the chance to explain that, and it's not called Gold Star widow, it's called Gold Star wife.
Yeah.
So some people who are, the military only makes up 1% of our population or less. Mm-hmm. So it's not as if most people would know what that is. So I don't fault anyone for thinking that. But I don't have the same experience as being a veteran in walking with wounds. But I actually had a cousin that did.
What does that mean, what for people who are listening that don't know walking with wounds? Is that just as self-explanatory as it sounds? That they
So
were injured?
yeah, but it could be a mental. So it's so many things. So it could be that they have a TBI, traumatic brain injury. My cousin suffered with TBI after having been blown up a few times overseas, disarming bombs. He was an EOD tech. There's experiences of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
I'm sure that's rampant.
It really is, and it's becoming more known, more talked about, and hopefully to the point where it'll get normalized, but it's still something that people don't want to talk about most of the time. My cousin never really talked openly about either one of these, but he had a crisis situation that happened one time, and I lived in the area, and so I went to help him for a little while he got stabilized. And ultimately got the help that he needed. And sadly, him and several of his EOD buddies went through very similar things where they had back-to-back deployments for so many years and got blown up, or they saw their friends get blown up, or they saw their friends get injured and they survived, and you have that survivor skill. There's so many different aspects of not just the physical wound. So when I think that's what he's referencing is not, walking wounded, you could be walking normally and nobody knows that you have been suffering with TBI or PTSD or depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts. We don't know what's going on in anybody's head. So before we started this episode today, we looked up working in the ER. This is the hotline we always give out to veterans. It's down below. So if you or anybody that you know is feeling like they need someone to talk to, but they don't know where to turn, please reach out to this Veterans Crisis Hotline. The number is there. You just press 1 and you're automatic, or you can text and you're automatically transferred over to somebody who has been trained to answer a call. It's confidential. They're not giving out your information. They're not contacting your command. The caveat of all this that I feel like is important to know, because a lot of people don't, is when you're on that crisis hotline. I used to work for one. So I worked for a domestic violence and sexual assault hotline. And, when we're hearing people's stories and we're empathizing and providing some supportive counseling, but it can only go so far. It's the baby step, right? The idea is to then get you connected to somebody. And I know times like this where counselors, therapists, social workers are backed up for months. It's hard, but we will make every effort. So just know, and this is what I always tell somebody, even if your appointment is a couple months from now, feel free to call every day if you have to. Like whatever it takes, reach out and let somebody know that you're hurting. And I also feel like peer support is one of those things that is crucial, especially for veterans, because they join the military and they're thrust into this environment where they're always around each other, not just through boot camp or OCS, but also through various training, different commands and squadrons, units, or whatever the military branch calls it.
It's so that camaraderie, right? They're latching onto one another. Yeah.
And so to be able to, and I know there's several programs out there, and we could put them in the show notes. I'll look them up so that people can access these, but just a chance to bond with some other people who have had a similar experience so that you don't feel like you're all alone is so important. And then the last caveat I want to mention with any of these crisis hotlines, right? So if you call them and you're actively suicidal, what they're going to tell you, or you make statements that make it, even if you don't admit that you are feeling like you're going to harm yourself or somebody else, they're going to ask you to go to the closest ER, or they're going to end up sending police to your house if you hang up or something like that. And that's only to protect you. It's not because anybody's in trouble. It's because, honestly, you're calling because you're in crisis, and it's our job. It was my job then, and it's my job. It was my job in the ER. To make sure that person is okay. If you call and you're saying, hey, I'm having these thoughts and I'm considering, harming myself or harming somebody else, we want to make sure that person's okay. So oftentimes we'll instruct somebody to go to the closest ER just to be seen. to make sure that you're okay, and or they might end up sending police. And again, it's just as a welfare check to make sure that you're actually okay. So I always want to mention that, because people get scared and then they get mad because they didn't know. So just know, it's always best for you to call. And even if you don't call and you're having these thoughts, and if you don't have a phone or you don't want to call, just go straight to an ER. That's also a place to go to get some help. I mean, that's what I've done for the last 4 years.
Yeah, that's super priceless information. What did Marta write? Marta wrote, "The wait to see someone in the mental health field is such a deterrent for people seeking help. Hard to look that far ahead when the day-to-day is such a struggle." That's true. And then if you think to reach out to somebody, you're like, I don't want to bother anybody with my stuff, It's
scary, to take that first step. But if what you're doing isn't serving you, isn't helping you, you got to try something else. And for those people who are also, wanting to talk to somebody, just find a counselor or a social worker. I always recommend checking out the website, psychologytoday.com. You can search by insurance. You can search by your area. It has counselors. It has psychologists, psychiatric services, if you need some kind of prescription medication. And it's also by male or female, or different needs. Like, say, if you want somebody who specializes in PTSD, you can look at it that way. Lots of filters. It's fairly user-friendly. I always recommend anybody, if you don't know where to turn, start there. psychologytoday.com.
And I do want to say too, if you guys reach out to somebody for help, don't get discouraged. Like, keep trying. It's like people seek out the perfect hairstylist and the perfect car mechanic. Do the same thing for your mental health. It really does make a difference. If you go with somebody and you don't jive with them right away, go somewhere else. You can fire your therapist.
Yeah. And if anybody, needs any other resources, feel free to message me. I will help you in any way that I possibly can.
Yeah, I'm going to put those in the show notes as well, her individual contact info as well as mine. So you guys, hopefully you're following us individually and on the Folly Girls podcast Instagram. So always be looking there for, what we've talked about in the past and then what's upcoming.
Awesome. So do you want to bring up the next comment that somebody sent?
Absolutely. So what we're going to go into next, I thought it would be a little bit lighter, is food. We had some people write in about what our favorite foods were. And, I guess they see that we're really active and we eat good, and, we make assumptions about how other people live their lives. And so I thought it would be fun if took that blanket, there goes a jet right now. If we took that blanket kind of idea about food and we each named our favorite comfort food, our favorite on-the-go snack, and our favorite go-to healthy meal, because just so you guys know, we eat all the food. We don't restrict what we eat. We're conscious about it, but we don't restrict. So you go first. What's your favorite comfort food?
Honestly, it kind of depends. So my favorite comfort food, if it's a homemade, and I make it sometimes, but it's only if I have people to share it with, because then I'll eat it all. I'm not going to lie. Is homemade apple pie. Love homemade apple pie. And I feel like some of the best homemade apple pie. Lots of sugar in it though, but that's what makes it so good.
Well, I'll be coming up there in just a few weeks. If you want to make it, I'll share it with you.
Okay. I can do that. And then there are times when you're in the South and there is nothing better than some shrimp and grits.
I consider myself a connoisseur of shrimp and grits. So those are two good picks.
Yeah.
My favorite comfort food, I would say, is pizza. I love a good pizza. With all the things. Yes, I'm a pineapple on the pizza thing, but I'm also good with just a big cheesy slice of pepperoni. It's hard for me to name just one comfort food, because I'm a cheeseburger, pizza, like French fry. Just the other day, I made some homemade loaded tots because I had a can of chili beans. I had some tater tots left over, and I just cooked the tater tots, shredded a bunch of cheese, like 3 different types of cheese, popped it in the oven, put some of those beans on top, sour cream, hot sauce, boom. And I just had a little bit. I didn't have to have a bunch, but God, they were so good. And there's something about making that at home that it doesn't make me feel like crap like it would if I went to Sonic or something. You know what I mean? So I have my little life hack for you guys today is, if you're craving some kind of a comfort food, try try to recreate it at home if at all possible, because it makes a difference. I mean, you know as well as I do, if I would have gone down and got some crazy cheesy chili tots from Sonic, I would have been in the bathroom all night.
Yeah.
And then a sweet treat would probably be, I love pie, but I would go with berry, like blackberry, raspberry. That's my favorite.
I eat a lot of fruit anyway, so for me, that's like a normal thing.
Oh, apple's a fruit.
Yeah, but the actual apple pie that you have to like cut up all the apples and peel it and like layer it, and yeah, it's a thing.
True. God, let's make a pie when I come. I think that'd be fun. And we can do it on camera. We'll go on our StreamYard and do pie on camera. That would be so fun.
I have had not a lot, several requests of, hey, when are y'all going to do that nighttime thing where you're going to talk about dates? I said, oh, that's when Harmony's coming in May.
Well, we'll do it in May. We'll do Folly Forward podcast after dark. Absolutely. We'll have some peanut butter. What's that liquor that you like?
Screwball.
We'll have some Screwball.
I haven't had it in forever.
Oh, well then perfect. Yes, we'll come, we'll celebrate. We'll have Screwball and apple pie.
Oh, peanut butter, whiskey, and apple pie. I mean, hey, I don't think there's anything better than that.
That sounds fabulous. Okay, and the next one up on the agenda question was a sex question, and it wasn't really specific to anything. I think that it was a woman that asked the question, and it was mainly just kind of like hey, will you guys talk about this more? I felt, and I've had another girl message, can you talk about love and relationships, especially because we're both single. And so the blanket question I wanted to ask today as far as sex goes is, and we don't have to go any great detail, but like, do you feel like your sex life has changed as you've grown more confident within yourself?
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've had long bouts of being single though. So, I had a relationship that ended almost a year ago. That was about 9 months or so, 10 months of a relationship. And prior to that, I was single for like 3 years. Wow. After that last relationship from 2017 ended, I needed that time to heal and release myself of a lot of the pain that I had been carrying from that, and, really work on myself. And then a couple years into being single, I started going on dates here and there, which, what we'll talk about.
That's a whole, yeah, we'll do that.
We could probably have a Folly Girls After Dark once a month and still never catch up to the stories. But not only did I work on myself, I felt more confident with my abilities to communicate.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one.
I think that when I was younger, I don't know that I communicated like exactly what it was that I wanted in a partner.
And that happens for so many reasons though, right? Yeah. You're embarrassed. I mean, your age makes a huge difference. You don't know what you want sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I definitely think that as I've gotten older, I'm more aware of what it is that I want in a sexual relationship and how to communicate that to the person that I'm with.
Yeah, because I think it's hard. That's one thing I've learned. It's hard not to take what society deems normal and it's hard to block that out and just pay close attention on what it is that you like, what makes you comfortable, what turns you on. So yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with the fact that as you get not just older, it's not about age, it's about getting confidence.
Yeah. You know what else I think it is that when you're younger, at least for me, when I look back when I was younger, I think I was trying to please the other person more than I was even concerned about my own needs. It was like, oh, I want to make sure this person's happy.
And then exactly, what do you equate that to? You equate that to wanting approval. Y'all out here dating. Marta said she loves shrimp and grits. Yes, to shrimp and grits. Yeah, I mean, you are still in a place where you're so, you're more of your focus that goes into what they think of you.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to that whole thing that if you are like the best girlfriend and you're of service, that you're going to be super lovable. They're never going to go anywhere. And so guess what? When you're focusing all your attention on somebody else in an unhealthy way, you're not focusing any on yourself. So absolutely. Sorry guys that we meet in the future. It's not going to be all about you so much.
Well, like we just said, now we know how to communicate what we want. So best believe we can be asking.
Yeah. I mean, and that's I don't know. I think that's better when you can have open conversation in the bedroom. I mean, I know couples that have been together for decades that cannot have a conversation about sex. And I, me, like one of my secret desires for a long time was to be a sex educator. And I don't want you guys to get the visual that it's me with my big duffel bag full of sex toys and dildos, like walking, into a building and teaching people how to use a vibrator. That would be part of it too. But I
Like
think,
in Meet the Fockers.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yes, exactly. I forgot about that character. But it would be more about like how to ask for what you need in the bedroom, and, starting more at the foundation of who you are, what you want, what just in general, what do you have a sexual kink or fetish? Or first of all, do you even know what that is?
Mhm.
Because we all have our own, if you don't educate yourself on sex, it's gonna affect your sex life, right? And I think that for whatever reason that it's 2022, it's still not common practice to talk about sex. Dr. Harmony Ruth. Rodney says Dr. Harmony Ruth. Yeah. And for those who don't know, what was her name? What was her last name?
You mean in Meet the Fockers or something else?
No, Dr. Ruth. She's the sex educator. She's amazing. The little tiny old lady, Dr. Ruth.
Oh, yeah.
Forget
I
her.
don't know. Rodney, tell us what that lady's name is.
Google her, Rodney. I forget what her last name is, but yeah, and it's really just about, it's bigger than that. Like being able to know what you want. We go after all this education for our careers. We go after all this education for, I don't know, how to meditate. Westheimer? Ruth Westheimer. That sounds right. Doesn't sound fully right, but if I was closer to my Alexa, I would ask her, but then she'll start doing a bunch of crazy stuff. So I don't want to bring her into our conversation. But think about it, Alicia, like we chase education for everything else that we deem important in our life, but we don't chase education when it comes to sex. And sex is such a big, huge part of not only our individual selves. I've got a whole sex life that I have by myself, that has gotten healthier and more, I've had more of a mindfulness around sex with myself, but then sex with other people. Like we don't seek out information when it comes to sex. And it's sad.
Yeah.
I feel like we could.
I think it's also trying things. Sometimes you have this idea in your head that you might be into something. And if you don't try it, how do you know? It's just like trying new foods. How do you know if you don't try it?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's where the Band-Aid needs to be ripped off. And I think just like anything, open communication, but everybody benefits. And so Corolla Ruth Westheimer, better known as Dr. Ruth. Okay. Yes. Corolla. I forgot that was her name. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And see, in future episodes, I can pop a little image of her here because I've been playing around with some YouTube, y'all. I've been learning how to use the StreamYard YouTube situation, and I want to make this a show. I'm really excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys more about that at the end. But I don't know. I just, in a nutshell, I just think it's important for people to educate themselves on all things that make their life full and whole. And that would include, just like people focus on, well, I want to learn how to meditate, so I'm going to be a part of this workshop every weekend for a month so this woman can teach me how to meditate. Well, why not do the same thing with sex? I think that people come into the world, they learn about sex however they learned about it. For me, I learned about sex, I was born in 1975. And so, because I was around a bunch of partying adults, me and the kids that were roaming around the house party would go into the bathroom, and then you find a stack of Playboys underneath the sink, and then we'd be locked in the bathroom, me and 6 other kids flipping through the Playboys when we were 5 years old. You know what I mean? That's how I learned about sex, or the beginnings of sex. Nobody talked about sex. And I don't even want to get into Skinamax or HBO After Dark or any of that stuff that I saw, but usually that's what sticks. I mean, that's what you learn about, and then you carry that knowledge all the way through adulthood, and there's so much more to it. And I feel like that is just another thing that you can individually learn about to help your self-confidence. I mean, it doesn't have to be raunchy or dirty or taboo. It can be something that gives you more quality of life. And so that's something that I definitely want to bring up as a topic in here going forward, selfishly, because I think sex education is so powerful, not just as a way to keep your body safe from STDs and pregnancies and things like that, but also just to enjoy that. I mean, pleasure is part of why we're here, to be able to have pleasure, right? So we could do a whole episode on pleasure, and I would love to.
It's also like one aspect of our existence, right? Like, it's not like, most people are going through life experiencing sex in some way, shape, or form. So the idea that it's too taboo or hush hush to talk about is silly, because it's one aspect of our life. And if we're trying to be the best version of ourselves and try to look at ourselves as a whole human being, that is one aspect that we have to test out, talk about, see, communicate, like, and decide, like, hey, do I like this? Do I not like this? It's important.
Yeah, have open conversation about it. I think it's been taboo for so long that a lot of people can't look at it any other way. So it's like breaking the mold of sex and sex talk doesn't have to be raunchy or dirty or gross. It can be beautiful and it can be very empowering. And so I would love to do a whole episode on that going forward. Just, it doesn't have to be anything raunchy or us talking about our kinks or anything personal to ourselves. I just would love to talk about how being able to know your way around your body, and it makes me think about the show I just started watching. It's a Norwegian it's a Norwegian series called Lust, and it's these it's kind of like a way better version of Sex and the City. And one of the women suggested to her, they're all like in their 30s and 40s, and one of the women suggested to her friend, yeah, I mean, looking at your vagina. And she's like, well, what do you mean looking at my vagina? I've never looked at my vagina. What does Rodney say here? Trying to watch the Playboy channel through the squiggly lines because you didn't pay for the channel. Exactly.
Well, I think that sounds, maybe we could, between now and when we have this next episode, I'll watch one of those and we could talk about it.
Please, let's do that. So
Yeah.
it's called Lust. I'll give you all the information. If anybody's interested in knowing about this program, Lust, I can drop the information in the comments down below. Please put them, if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, please drop comments below if you want to know about this television show. I would love to pass it on to you.
I think if we talk more about things like this, just like the mental health stuff that we've brought up, it helps reduce that stigma that that it's not okay to talk about it. And that's false.
Anything.
Like,
yes.
It is okay to talk about this stuff.
It's absolutely okay. Well, this particular scene, it was so damn good. Her friend says, have you not ever looked at your vagina? And she said, no. What do you mean looked at my vagina? She said, have you not ever squatted over a mirror? So in one of the scenes, she goes home and gets a mirror out and just pulls her little dress up and squats. And it wasn't even perverted. If I had to compare this, it's like a comedy. It's like a 30-minute comedy. But she squatted down, and just that whole scene itself was so beautiful, because I remember very vividly the first time I didn't squat, but I did use a mirror to look at myself. And it was just a very uncomfortable, weird scenario for me to be looking that close up at my vagina. But I think it's important. And I don't mean to make this something silly, or I really, really mean this wholeheartedly. Like, it's important to know ourselves in whatever capacity you can, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I'm on the self-identity kick. So it's going to be something I'm going to be bringing in here a lot. But yes, I'll hook you up with the info on Lust. You can watch it and prepare. Maybe we can finish the series and then we'll do an episode on just talking about sex as a woman, as a human in the world today, and why it's so important. Okay, so sex, I could talk about that forever, but we're already at 42 minutes, and so I want to go ahead and get to the next thing. What is anything individual that you've got going on that you want people to know about? Any updates on your hiking thing? Any updates on how they can find you, or anything you've got coming up?
How many minutes do we have left? Because I got a lot. Honestly, I'm working on a lot of things right now.
Give us the rundown. I know one of them's a book. I'm excited.
I'm working on my book. This has been a several month-long process so far. It's going to continue to be another couple of months based on what I'm doing. But I'm excited that that'll hopefully be done and ready sometime by the end of the summer, maybe. Who knows? It depends on how much time. Because right now, I actually have a lot going on with my house. I put it on the market to sell. It did not sell. And I have taken it off the market and had to make some decisions on, am I going to stay here and get a roommate? Stay here as in keep the house and get a roommate? Or am I going to shove my stuff into storage and just rent my house out? And that is the decision that I've made. So I will be shoving all of my things into storage. I've been slowly decluttering in my downtime this week, a little area at a time, because it feels very overwhelming when I look at my house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get rid of everything? But I'm trying my best just to take it a little bit at a time, which is, a good life lesson for any sort of big thing you're trying to do, is just take a bite size out of it as much as you can, here and there, little micro habits, but that's a whole nother episode. And My plan is to be out of the house by the middle of May, right after you come visit me, and I'll be full time in the van. So
I bet you'll get a lot of writing done while you're on the road because you won't have the distraction of having to care for an entire house.
yes, I'm excited for that. I'm
Do
excited to experience what it's like to, I had this experience last summer of living in my van, but it was different. I had a home to come back home to, and all my stuff wasn't in storage, basically. So basically, what I'm having in my van is what I'm going to have. I will keep a few things over at one of my close friends' house because I have to come back to Virginia Beach in August for a wedding that I'm in.
I'm
But
excited to see your trips from the road. It's going to be so
yeah,
cool.
I'm
And then
excited
connect
too.
with you too. I'm going to fly out and connect with you sometimes.
Yeah,
And
we're going to be planning some stuff when you're here in May. But writing this book. Been pitching myself to a bunch of podcasts. So I've been on different podcasts lately. I'm going to be restarting my own podcast that pushed
Nice.
pause on for a little bit because too many things going on. And
well, do we get to know what the book's about? Do we get a teaser or?
I'll hold off for now.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll wait a little bit longer. But
Okay.
and then, I have those 2 programs that I'm working on revamping my website. So the details about the hiking program and my coaching program will be up on the website, hopefully by the end of this month. I've been reformatting everything, trying to decide how I want to move forward with both of those. But yes, I will be having some hikes coming up very soon. And I'm going to also have some virtual hikes so that people can join me as Blue and I are hiking in some of these amazing places.
Oh, no, that's a good idea. Now, how's that going to look? Are you going to go live and let them be a part of like a group on your phone?
I'm gonna try, but I'll have to be varied. I'll have to test it out ahead of time because of Wi-Fi. A lot of times when you go into the woods, you lose your signal. So I'm going to test it out in a few places where I know that you get decent signals, and see where it goes.
That just had some really cool visuals on how awesome that could be, where you just videotape yourself and like do a hike and then give them like meditations or journal prompts or that's so cool.
I have a lot of these same ideas. So
I love it.
We
Look
can
at
discuss
Alicia.
details.
Yeah, that's so fun. Okay, well, same thing with me. I'm just working on co-working. So I've made a commitment a few months ago to go by myself or meet with a girlfriend who's also going on her own little venture to co-work. So get myself as a way to get myself out of the house, because we've talked about how distracted you are with trying to hyper focus on something. I got to go change the laundry out, or it's time to start cooking dinner, or there's a Netflix show I really want to know what happened. So I've been creating little co-working meetups, and tomorrow we're meeting at a place called Pollen in Asheville, which is a place we try a new place every time. And this is it's a florist that ethically sources exotic and all sorts of, regular houseplant, or not just houseplants, but like flowers from all over the globe. And they are a florist and a cafe and a bakery. It's overwhelming to even talk about. But yes, and you can go in there and sit at a table and do Wi-Fi. And so we're going to go meet there tomorrow for a few hours and get some writing done. And she's going to do a little bit of her online class and just support one another and get out in the environment. And I'm going to start working on this children's book. So I'm currently in the process of doing an online course that I paid for a few months ago. And it's basically the basics about writing a children's book. And as you know, that's kind of my dream, is to have a series with me and Marabella called Marabella and Me, and just, teach children the power of nature, the power of movement, the power of connection, not only with connecting with the outdoors and how we're all kind of one, but also connecting with a pet and the power that comes in that, especially if you are somebody like me who as a child moved around a bunch and I didn't have that regular set of friends. Speaking of her, I didn't have that regular set of friends around all the time. We were moving too much. And so I feel like that connection with her, who's barking, has been powerful. And it's really a dream of mine to make that a book series called Marabella and Me. So besides this beautiful Folly Forward podcast we're doing, and my guys at the official 5 Deep and the Bliss Broker things I'm doing, the children's book is also very important to me. And it's like, I know if other people can do it with all the things they have on their plate, children, spouses, there's no reason why I can't. So it's really being a part of this and my other accountability groups keeps me honest. It keeps me wanting to put another, day into committing to my goals, because honestly, if I didn't think anybody was watching me, I'd probably just flounder about. So major gratitude for the people that I have in my life. Like you're one of the people I rub elbows with, and you're in process of writing a book. Like I gotta, you subconsciously want to rise up to the level of the people that you're surrounding yourself with. So that's why
Hmm.
it's so important to be very selective about who you spend time with, right?
I agree. Not only who you spend time with, but this is something that I know that I'm guilty at of times, but I've been doing it as a research, also a distraction. Like, let's be real, is watching, you are not only who you surround yourself physically, but who you're listening to.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I have been trying to figure out how to make better reels and how do I get better at making these dang TikToks? I have ended up watching a lot of them. And so for research purposes, but also, because it's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to refocus my time when I have free time into not listening to podcasts more and less of just random music or reels and stuff.
Yeah, I actually was doing a meditation last week, and it kind of came to me to start documenting all the information that I take in every day, because I think I underestimate not only the power of the free education that I'm able to get while I'm doing my day job stuff. I'm able to have my headphones on. And so in any given day, I'm listening to, a few chapters of this particular audiobook. I'm listening to like 3 audiobooks right now. I can take in 2, 3, 4 podcasts in a day, depending on how long my day is. And so it dropped down as a download into my brain during a meditation to start documenting, so I can use that as a resource to look back on later, because I don't think it's been until recently that I've realized just how much this information that I'm hearing every day in my headphones while I'm working my day job has been really helping in my personal development.
Yeah,
It's
I
all this,
agree.
it's just amazing the amount of free information that's out there available to everyone. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a topic about anything. If you want to know about it, there's hundreds of free resources about it. So I totally second that, being very conscious and aware of what you allow to go in your ear holes and your eye holes. Very powerful.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
So I guess that's it. We're already 51:51. If you can believe it, an hour flies by. I did want to leave before we leave. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to be bringing into the show. And because I have a newfound love for TikTok, just in learning about creating them. And Alicia shares her favorite or funny TikToks with me. And so I've decided to start bringing some of these TikToks into the live stream. So we will have said topic, and I will play the TikTok live for you guys to experience, and we will talk about that. So that's something that, whether it's a TikTok, a reel, a social media post of any kind, if there's something that you guys see that you want us to riff about, please drop that to us in the social media. We would love to let you guys be a part of this community. And there's not just the funny ones, but also the ridiculous ones or the serious ones, or there's just so many. It's a freaking wild, wild west out there right now on social media.
Every time I find one that makes me laugh out loud so much that I have to watch it like 3 more times,
Yeah,
I send it to you.
I know. I love it. So we're going to be bringing that in future episodes. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. I've been really doing my homework today and watching some YouTube videos on how to make your live stream on YouTube videos in general just more interactive, more engaging. And I really have a deep desire to make this something where we can share those things. Like if we want to pop in, you've just completed your website and we want to show it, we can share it in here. People can see your website right here in the live stream. So be looking for that. Other than that, if you guys have any topics you want to talk about, please let us know. I know one thing that we are going to bring up for next week is aging. I happened to see a very disturbing TikTok from Madonna, and I love her, and I don't want to riff on anybody, but this was a very disturbing TikTok. And if you want to see it, please go to @theblissbroker.com or @theblissbroker Instagram, and you will see it on my Insta stories. It's just bizarre. I've watched it like 10 times, and I'm like, what is going on with Madonna? And I would say, is that her aging gracefully? I don't know. I just feel like she's gotten so much plastic surgery that she looks, I don't want to be mean, she just looks weird. So I want to talk about that, because there's some things I've had issue with. Like, do I color my hair? Do I get Botox? I'm sensing, I'm getting older, and I can see things that I don't necessarily like happening with my body and my face. And so I'm kind of walking the fence right now between harmony, age gracefully. There's a lot of people who don't get to be the age you are ever. Um, so I'm walking the fence, I think. I'm pretty pleased with how I look as a 46-year-old woman. I take care of myself, but also there's parts of me where I'm like, is that new? Is that a new wrinkle? Do I because all my grays are coming in. You can't tell on camera, but there's a lot going on up there. And I have been feeling every day almost, Harmony, just go buy a box of root touch up and be done with it. But I really don't want to give into that. I'm like, nope, I'm not giving into that. I really want to age gracefully, and I would love to get into a conversation with you about it. So maybe that's one of the things I want to get into for next recording.
Okay, sounds good.
And then anything you bring to the table. Do you have anything on the agenda you would like to discuss, or you just want to send them to me later?
Yeah, I can send them to you later. But honestly, Rodney just said, I'm going to go get the mirror to check my undercarriage. Well, please do not report back on what you see.
Oh, that is hilarious.
That's too funny. So, you mentioned that you want to start documenting. I can't even finish a podcast. I mean, no joke. People probably think I'm texting in the gym, right? Because I used to listen to Clubhouse a lot.
Yeah.
Every morning I would be listening to Clubhouse, and I would constantly be grabbing my phone and like taking notes. Like, oh my gosh, I just heard this amazing thing. I got to put it down because I have hundreds and hundreds of notes in my phone. And that's one of those things that when I have free time and I'm traveling, I'm going to go back and start looking at some of these, because it is amazing the massive amount of information that we are given for free every single day, either by listening to a podcast, listening to something like Clubhouse, where people are providing value and various different avenues of information, or it's an audiobook. So yeah, I mean, I think it's awesome that you're going to start doing that. And I literally can't finish a podcast episode or any book without stopping to take some notes.
What are you reading right now? Is anything?
I just downloaded a book that I wanted to read. Hold on. I'm not reading anything right now because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But let me look at my Audible.
I know I'm reading like 4 books right now.
The last one I downloaded, In an Unspoken Voice, Peter Levine.
Who's he? What is his name? I'm thinking Adam Levine from Maroon 5. I think that's what I'm thinking in my brain.
So actually, this is the last book that I was listening to. It's called How the Body Releases Trauma and Restores Goodness.
Ooh,
so
that's a good one.
Yes. So that was one that I was listening to. But in terms of, gosh, there was another one that I had on here that I just downloaded that I was super excited to listen to.
You're on Audible, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about? I do. Have you heard about Libby? You connect your library card with it, and you can download free audiobooks. So that was my newest venture. As I just went and got my new library card in the last couple months, and I downloaded Libby, and it's basically like Audible, but it works on your app. So you should download that app. I'm listening to right now. I just started Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is Dr. Joe Dispenza. You know how much I love him.
Love him too.
Yeah, he's magical. Bioenergy healing.
Actually, that Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is in my Audible list. I haven't listened to it yet. I'll have to start.
It's so good. And then What Happened to You, I'm almost done with, and that's Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. And that is about how your body, it's similar to Your Body Keeps the Score, but it's about the importance of, instead of asking people in general, not just children, but instead of asking people what's wrong with you, ask them what happened to you, because everybody's got a story, and it's usually from that story that it determines how we act when we go out into the world and how we interact with others. So,
I like that. One of the other ones I have is Tiny Habits.
Ooh, so I've heard that's good. I've not read it yet.
I am a huge believer in, having these micro habits, these tiny habits of things that you do every single day. Instead of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run a marathon. Well, you have to actually get to that point. So what are those mini habits you're going to set in place to actually attain the goal that you really want? So
that's super helpful.
Yeah, that's something that we could talk about probably a whole nother episode.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're sitting on the couch on a Sunday morning, you're thinking about your week to come and you're like, "Oh, I've got this to do, I've got that to do." I mean, I did it to myself this morning because of course I waited to the last minute to do my taxes. So this week I've got to do that, I've got to do this. I've got like a list of things and I found myself like my blood pressure was raising and all I was doing was sitting on the couch this morning. I'm like, "Harmony, just chill out."
It's so funny how parallel our lives are, because I had intentions of doing certain things today, and my day got like sideswiped by my tax accountant reaching out to me and saying he needed certain things because I just gave him all of my stuff on Thursday or Friday. And he was like, "Hey, I need these things because I got to get your." I was like, "Oh my gosh, where is it?" And so I'm calling. I can't find the receipts for anything. I'm calling different places. "Hey, is there any way I can find a receipt?" I'm at hours of my time.
I call that, "Oh, hey, it's Mama B."
Hi.
Mama B, thanks for coming. We've had some committed listeners today on our live. We've had Rodney from my podcasting accountability group, Marta, sweet girl. She worked with me in my accountability group, and it's the same group that Alicia did under the Bliss Broker. So that was fun that they've gotten to know each other. And then, of course, my beautiful mama. Thank you guys for supporting us today. Please do me a favor after we're done today and share. I would love that, to share with anybody you think might be able to benefit from this. I lost my train of thought because I got so excited my mom was here. What was I saying? Oh, it's just I have to look for the evidential proof. When I start getting freaked out about stuff and I've got this to do and that to do and I just say, "Harmony, just stop and look for the proof. You're an adrenaline junkie, you're a procrastinator that's trying to be in recovery, but you always get shit done. Just look for the proof. Everything always gets done."
Yeah.
Oh, Rodney's saying hi to my mom.
Well, that goes back to our determined, state of mind. We're always, not only are we focusing ourselves, but we're going to get this stuff done. We're going to figure it out some way or another. We're getting it done. We're determined, focused, and we make shit happen. Basically.
Say what you will about getting older, but I love having an awareness about who the hell I am. I really do. I'm so grateful for it. I mean, in a regular day, I'll get up and make my bed and I wake up feeling good, first of all, which is something huge to be grateful about. Mama says, "Hi." Anyway, I wake up with just this excitement about how am I going to tackle the day? And I know for a very long time, I'll leave you guys with this. One thing that came up big in my meditation today, I did like a 30-minute meditation. So the longer the meditation, the more the awareness, right? They're hard to do, but they're so valuable. But one of the things that came is the number 10. And as I was having a conversation in the quiet of my mind, the number 10 basically meant to reflect and look back. Where was Harmony 10 years ago? And 10 years ago, it would have been April 10th, 2012. I know exactly where I was, exactly what was going on. And I was really mindful after I got done with that meditation to, not in an unhealthy way, but in a productive way, to look back on where I was in April of 2012. And Alicia, it's like night and day. It was like night and day. And then not only that, look back 5 years ago. Where was I 5 years ago? For that matter, where the hell was I a year ago or a month ago? I mean, it's just that looking for that validation, if you're struggling in your life, really does help if you look backwards and see where you were. Mm-hmm. Because there was a time in my life that thank you, Mom. My mom says you two are so motivating. I did not pay her to say that.
So sweet.
I didn't pay her to say that. I promise.
Look who's talking.
I know, exactly. She's my muse. For those of you who've never heard me talk about it, my mom is my muse for sure. She is a badass to the core. But I do want to leave you guys with this, that if you find yourself struggling, when you find yourself struggling with something, first of all, look at the evidential proof, look at what you've created, look how far you've come to get to where you are at that given moment. And then take the time. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to journal and light sage and burn candles. Just make a mental note. Just stop for 5 seconds and make a mental note about where you were 10 years ago, where you were 5 years ago, where you were a year ago. And you will see just naturally how far you've come. Mm-hmm. And it will give you that kind of boost you need to say, yeah, I was kind of in a shitty place and I didn't know all the things that I know today. And it kind of gives you that peace, even if it's momentarily, that you're okay. Yeah. You're going to be okay.
That self-reflection is so key to not only recognizing how far you've come, but how much more knowledgeable you are about some of the mistakes you might have even made. Mm-hmm. And knowing that you're not going to make those same mistakes again. You're going to tackle the problem. Not that you won't, but you're going to tackle the problem or the situation a little bit differently because you already have the knowledge of what you've already been through.
Yeah, I've done a lot of stupid shit multiple times, and I just kind of have said it takes more than one push to knock a refrigerator over. You know, I don't begrudge any of it. I had to learn, and sometimes you have to do stupid shit 5 times, 30 times, it doesn't matter, but at some point you're going to get it. Rodney says Harmony is Maribeth, which is my mom, where you learn to kick balls and take names. Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. I give my mom 100% credit for that. She raised me to be an independent woman. She raised me. I saw her doing it. She didn't have to teach me with her words. I watched her actions. And Alicia knows my mom very well. She taught me with her. Again, she's a badass. She's like the epitome of a badass. And
She
she's
really
not
is
slowing
amazing.
down. Yeah, she is. Anyway, we'll have to get her to come on.
Yeah.
Maybe she can come on. I'll tell her, hey mom, when I go visit Alicia in May, have a glass of wine and we'll pull you into the live chat and Mama B can come in and shoot the shit with us for a few minutes.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be so fun. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it with you, Alicia. Do you have anything you want to say to everybody before we hit the road?
The only thing I really want to say is I know we talked about a lot of heavy stuff earlier today based upon some questions that somebody submitted, so feel free that if anybody has some other stuff that they are scared to ask or they feel like it might be too heavy, we can take it. So just go ahead, send anything our way that you want to discuss. And we talked about a lot of different resources, but please know that if anybody is out there and they need someone to reach out to, you'll have my information. Please reach out, send me a DM, and I will help point you in the right direction in any way that I possibly can. So we are here not only to, help you as a live experience, but also afterwards. We're not going anywhere. We're still here. We're willing to help in any way. Afterwards.
Yeah, and we're both very active on our social media and available. So message us anytime of the day or night. And let us offer you resources on anything. Or if you have a comment, you want us to talk about something, there's literally no stone we want to leave unturned. Is that right? Is that a double negative? There's no stone we don't want to leave a stone. I think it means it's time to go.
Yeah, but I think that boils back down to one of the things that you had talked about already, which is vulnerability. We're showing up together in this setting live, being vulnerable, being candid with you. And, just know that whatever we say, it's coming from our heart. We're coming from a place of compassion. We might be entertaining sometimes. We might be silly. We might cuss a little. I mean, hey, I believe in Jesus, but I cuss a little. Isn't that what that grandmother said on, on Ellen? Oh, yeah. Maybe it was, I love Jesus, but I drink a little. That was what
yeah. That's
we
good
do
too.
both of those too. But just know that we're showing up vulnerable to everybody here live and whoever is listening to this later, because we're being our authentic selves in this setting, offering you the opportunity to show up and be here with us or reach out afterwards.
And FYI, y'all, it's 2022. Like, vulnerability is sexy. And vulnerability is, despite, go listen to the most recent episode of The Bliss Broker, but vulnerability, it's not weakness. And I know that a lot of people look at it as weakness, but it's not. I mean, it's definitely, as Brene Brown says, it's a prerequisite to courage. You cannot have one without the other. And being vulnerable, there's so much magic that can happen there, because I will just say personally, in moving into a space where I've been more vulnerable, I've worn armor, I've been transparent, but I've not been soft. I've not been vulnerable. And I feel like the best things that have happened to me in my life have happened when I was being vulnerable. My connections with people, because think about it, you bond with people when you're showing all of you. If you're just cruising through life and everything's great, and you don't hurt, you don't need for anybody, it's really hard to bond with. It's when you're down and out and shit has hit the fan and you reach out to somebody, you guys can bond on that, because we've all been through shit. It's it's nice. It's a gift that you're giving people when you can be vulnerable and show your hurts, talk about your feelings. I know it's
Mhm.
hard to do. I know it is, but like, let's practice it here. If we practice it anyway, let's practice it here.
Especially with how everybody shows up on social media, right? I post a lot of, it's the mindset that I'm in. I try my best every single day to focus on the positive, to bring positive. My post today was about, sharing love and positivity every single day, right? That's really how I'm showing up in the world, how I'm choosing to show up in the world. But that doesn't mean that I'm not hurting sometimes, or that I have pain that I'm dealing with. And one of my friends called me out on this one time. Um, Not that she knew anything was wrong. She just, called me up one day and she was like, wow, you must live this amazing life, because all of your Instagram posts are just amazing. Like, you're so happy, life is great, you're watching the sunrise. And I said, honestly, is that what you're thinking of me? And she goes, yeah. She goes, according to social media, everything must be perfect in your life. And I was like, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I just went through a very painful breakup and heartbreak. And I was crying on the floor last night. And so I was, but I didn't think to post it. It wasn't that I don't mind being vulnerable. It's just that my mindset every day is, regardless of whatever is going on in my life, I'm choosing to be focusing on the positivity and the love that I'm trying to share with the world. But when I made the post after her telling me that, I literally went and made a post after that. And I included a poem that I had written that morning, actually, before she called me. I had written this poem of feeling hurt and being broken on the bathroom floor and crying and having a pool of tears on my cheeks. And I got so much engagement from that one post. Now, most people probably, unless you're following me already, you don't even know where to find that post, because it's on a pretty picture of me. But again, it was just.
Can you drop the link in the comments at some point over the next couple of days so people can go read this poem?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was great. Something that helped me release that pain that I was carrying the night that I had cried and just laid on the floor and couldn't get up, and I felt stuck. The next day I was like, okay, again, that's my mindset. That's my intention every day, is to, okay, regardless of what else is going on, things that are out of my control, the pain that I might be feeling right now, I'm going to intentionally share love and happiness and positivity in the world. And in order,
it doesn't mean you don't have shit going on. You just, the message you're trying to send is one of motivation and inspiration, not of, hey, I'm crying on the bathroom floor.
But it was a way for me. Writing it was, I'm not even somebody who writes poems all the time. It was just an outlet, a way for me to release the pain that I was feeling. I got it on paper. And then, because she happened to call me that particular same day, I was like, fine, you really think this, here it is. Here's really what I've been feeling.
And as a disclaimer, not that she had to do that, but it was a little life lesson that, especially if you're in a situation where your social media platforms are designed to help people, it's a good reminder that sometimes people connect with you when you show your vulnerability, because we're all struggling with shit. Every day we're all struggling. I mean, we don't wear sandwich boards when we go out into the world, say, these are the lists of the shit that I'm going on inside me today. But there's not a day that I don't wake up where I don't stress about something. I'm not worried about getting older, being alone, my health. I mean, shit, the list goes on and on and on and on.
I would love to know if there's actually one person that doesn't wake up and have some negative thoughts or some worry or concern going through their head. I don't think that's possible.
They're on drugs if they're like
I mean, like
good. They're self-medicating really well, and they're very wealthy, and they've got a butler that'll bring them water when they're dehydrated and pizza when they're craving it. Like,
what kind of life is that? I've never heard of it.
Anyway, we keep waffling about, as Mark would say. We're gonna hit the road, y'all. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it so much. The audios are coming. I haven't forgotten about you, but I wanted to wait until all 3 were edited before I staggered them and presented them out to sound platforms. But again, reach out to us. We are a Folly Girls podcast on Instagram. Please message us. At the least, go give us a follow on Instagram. And if you're watching here on the afterplay, please subscribe and hit the bell. I would appreciate it, because then you will know when we go live. We don't have a special day that we go live at a special time. We're all over the place. We're both very busy. And so I would love to have the engagement. I've loved it so much. Marta, Rodney, Beth, my mama, thank you for coming on. And Alicia, Thank you so much. I'm going to end the broadcast and say goodbye to everybody. We'll just be in the after party, you and I.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
See
See you next
later.
time.